I'll be okay. We live in the rain, a sea of change. You can't keep anything you take. The lovely face of lives we chase is but death.
And what's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode, who knows? We've been into this thing. This is like our third episode recording at Leatherwood Distillery, so I don't, what is this? What number is this?
Buckleberry.
No, I know what it is.
Number 37.
Number 37. So episode 43, episode 44 of the Uncommon Line podcast. We're back at Leatherwood Distillery. Thank you so much, Andy, for being a sponsor of the show. Thank you so much for having us back in-house. To all our sponsors that made the trip possible, thank you so much. We could have done it without y'all, but the one that's pouring the liquor today is Leatherwood, so they're the premier sponsor of today's episode.
Woo.
So we got an awesome episode for you, but make sure you go check out Leatherwood Distillery. They got a bunch of stuff. We're drinking the Fucklehead bourbon, right?
Yep.
And we've been having all kinds of stuff. We got to pick some stuff up before we go. But we have a great guest today, and his name is Donnie. What's your last name?
Donnie Reis.
Donnie Reis. Funny. We're gonna talk about how small of a world it is here in a second. And he's in the music business here in Nashville, Tennessee. Correct? Nashville?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I can already tell I'm going to like the guy because he knew one of the songs that I started to sing. So and then he completely finished it correctly. So that was good. So and we were able to talk mics and everything. So Donnie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
But first, let's get to this, man. So let's talk a little bit about you, Donnie, and your history. So where born and raised?
Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Went to Fairfield High School just outside of Hamilton. Been playing music professionally. Been playing the violin since I was about 10 years old. Went through, all of that. Enjoyed it. Ended up getting a full scholarship to college when I was 17. Couldn't believe it.
For music?
For music,
Cool.
believe it
That's
or not.
awesome.
First person with the last name Reese to ever even go to college, and it's because of that damn fiddle.
Yeah.
And then did that for a couple years. Really was not good at that. Hated school. And then when the towers went down, I had an excuse to quit. And joined up, did a brief stint in the military, served in Iraq in 2004 with the 1st Infantry Division, and then got back into music and been doing it ever since.
It's awesome. So let's rewind here before we get to some of these stories. But how many times did you play The Devil Goes Down to Georgia on the violin prior to college? And was it your entry submission for your scholarship?
No, okay. So The Devil Went Down to Georgia was not my entry, but it was definitely the most requested piece of music that
I know.
as a fiddle player that you ever get asked. But
anybody that lives down in the South that plays a fiddle, they know that song.
And it's a funny story because, I learned that song when I was probably 14 or 15 years old. My parents just were, they'd always go around, oh, he learned that by ear because it's never been written down. And I'm like, well, I don't even think, I don't even think you can actually play it. I think Charlie's playing like 5 parts on there. And funny, all these years later, I got asked to, in Charlie's stead after he passed away, to fill in, to stand in his shoes at his volunteer jam, the first volunteer jam since his death. And play The Devil Went Down to Georgia with the Charlie Daniels Band.
Fuck, dude, that's awesome, bro.
So all those years later,
it's
kind of a full circle.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was fixing to
awesome,
say, so
dude.
full circle, man. So, I mean, you must be good. So let me ask you this. So do you read music? I take it you do?
Oh, of course,
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
I'm
so-
classically trained.
Yeah, see, I'm classically not. Nothing about me is classical. So it was funny. I've always had the ear. I was a drummer and stuff, and I knew how to read drum sheets and everything like that. And then I went on to music in my first semester of college, and where I went in, and I didn't fit in very quick because they had me come into this room, and I don't know. So you were a music major in college, right?
Yes.
So did you have to do any of the choir stuff too?
I didn't have to do any choir stuff,
Bro. We had to walk in, and they were like, okay, here's your submission, play what you're going to play. Cool, I played it, whatever, and then did the guitar. And then they're like, all right, come to this back room. We need you to follow along. And I'm like, okay, follow along what? They're like, well, you got to sing. I'm like, I'm not singing shit. And they started playing some Christian hymn on the piano, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Like, criminal justice? Where's criminal justice? Exactly. So that's funny, man. Yeah, so you go from playing the violin, 9/11 happens. Walk me through that day and why you enlist.
I was already considering being in the military. So I had just gotten back, believe it or not, from basic training in AIT. I'd gone to Fort Benning, and then I went to Fort Leonard Wood. I was in an engineer battalion, and we got back, and I was in the laundromat, and I looked up at the, remember back before we had flat screens?
Yeah.
Little they even hung little tube TVs up in the corner, and I looked up there, and I saw the second plane fly into the tower, and I just was dumbfounded by that, and that was just, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was already a little, kind of over school and really was kind of at a place where I was like, man, my dad always told me, he said, you can do three things. You can go to college, you can learn a trade, or you can go in the military. And I had learned a trade. I worked with him at welding and mechanicing and building and all types of stuff. And I had gone to college, and I was like, well, this isn't for me.
So
number
three.
I'm going to go serve my country, and now I got to, so it's like, and I think for a lot of us, when that happened, you couldn't get us over there fast enough.
Yeah.
How
old were you at that point?
I would have been 22.
22. How old are you now?
40.
You know, Andy, why are you the oldest looking motherfucker and all your friends look so young, bro? Yeah, I know Andy doesn't look that old, but I'm still like, how old are you now?
Just think about, I'm 49 right
Okay.
now. 26 years, just do on average 5 miles a year. 5 miles a day, 26 years. That's a lot of miles on a motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then throw a 100-pound rucksack on there, and then start shooting at me and trying to blow me up.
Yeah.
I got busted.
No, I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna be in trouble because Jess is like, he doesn't look that old. Okay, I know he doesn't look that old.
Only been stabbed once though,
and that wasn't even overseas. That was just last night.
No, that was in a bar. Because I was an asshole.
Yeah. So you kind of fast forward for a second, and the reason y'all connect. So before you tell your story, talk about the 72-hour firefight that got you to Donnie.
Yeah, so 2004 Easter Sunday, we woke up that day, and we had intel saying that this Mahdi militia was going to start uprising and trying to overthrow everything that's going on in Iraq, where we were at the time. And we had to go do a mission, and that's what we're going to do. So we set out that morning about 7 o'clock in the morning, and within 2 hours, we got ambushed the first time. We had 3 casualties. We started out with 4 trucks. We had 3 casualties. We medevaced those guys, basically blew up the truck, left it. Kept moving, trying to get to take care of this mission, and within another 30 minutes, we got ambushed again. And these were legit ambushes. Like, they were beating us up bad. We ended up making it up to Baghdad, and we decided we were going to get back because we got intel that our camp was going to get hit hard that night. So we're like, we're going back. We got to be with our guys. So we left with 2 trucks, ended up rolling back down this MSR in MSR Tampa, and we got hit almost immediately. Ended up with 1 truck after the 4th ambush, and just pulled off the side of the road, and there was 3 of us left, and we're just sitting there like, man, we just got our asses fucking handed to us. We called in some AC-130 gunships. They were kind of pulling some cover for us, and we're hanging out. Called in for QRF. We're like, there's 3 of us left. We got to get out of here. And lo and behold, this fucking convoy comes down the freaking MSR. Like, we heard them get hit on the way to get us too. Like, they got hit. And these vehicles stopped on the freaking side of the road, and we were hiding in the woods, basically 3 of us, and walked up to the road, and lo and behold, this motherfucker sitting next to me right here.
So let me ask you this: do you remember that night?
I do, but I don't have, I was an E4. you know, you don't have any intel. We were just on our way down. We were
there.
Yeah, go drive. just
Take a left.
Pray to God you don't get blown up.
Yeah.
Shoot.
You know, and so you know, we were on our way to someplace else, and you know, and we just got called out early to go, and I believe it was we were escorting a Marine QRF, and the Marines are who picked those guys up, and they split one way, and we went on our way, and I had no idea. You know, you have no idea. I just remember telling my wife, these SF dudes just walked out of nowhere. You know, because they're like ghosts.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like myth. They're like
Yeah.
legend to
Yeah.
you. When you're in E4, you're like, what is that? Why does that guy look like an Arab, but he has an M4? Yeah. It's but yeah. So no, it's just and then years and years later, we were working together on something else that we'll talk about later. A charity. We're working on it together, and he's over in the studio, and him and I are drinking and start talking about, you know, Iraq in 04 and Easter Sunday, and he stands up and he's like, I was like, man, these 2 SF dudes walked out, or 3 or whatever, and he stands up and he's like, dude, shows me his arm, and he's like, that was me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just serendipitous.
How many
small
years
world.
later? How many years later?
Oh, that was
Just
04 to
20.
2016.
Yeah.
16 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. So you're sitting in the studio, drinking, hanging out, and then all of a sudden you're connecting the dots, and so you're how old at that time?
Oh
the
God,
time.
20. What? So that would have 04. I'd have been 20. Just not even 23, 22. Going on
crazy.
23.
That's
I was
crazy.
76 at the time.
So let me ask you a question, Andy, and you know, and if you don't want to answer it, I totally understand, because it's kind of like it's something probably a little bit more personal. And I didn't want to ask you the first time we met, just because, you know, we really just meeting and everything. But, you know, I can't imagine. And if you don't want to fucking answer, tell me to fuck off, okay? But you lost how many guys that day?
You know, we lost one guy. One guy got killed. Everybody else basically got medevaced.
And I assume, Donnie, during that time you lost individuals throughout the course of deployments.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you this, like, and the question comes up of like regret and like, you know, like, well, why me, why not me, you know, type things. And so between the two different things, you know, infantry and special forces and everything like that, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
So I've got this memory of Sergeant Major Stack, who he was our guy, like he was our leader, right? And I remember him coming up to me the morning before we left, and he knew I was a savage, right? I lived my life however the fuck I wanted to live, and he told me, he goes, Andy, I got to tell you something. You got to make sure that when it's your time, you're ready to go. And I looked at him, I said, what do you mean? He goes, I'm ready to go. I believe in Jesus. I believe in Christ. If they take me tonight, I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? And that kind of hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
no, obviously, because of the way I live my life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the fact that he was killed that day, that's always resonated throughout my life.
I think
ever since.
I
You know what I mean?
100% believe people subconsciously know. Like, I honestly believe, you know, it's like, and I'm not comparing the two, but my grandmother in Puerto Rico, you know, cool. I'm going to go take a shower. I'm going to go put on this dress. I'm going to go lay down. She's never wore that dress and then gone, right? Like,
Just went to sleep.
Just went to sleep. I honestly think there are people that just know, hey, and you know, and there's a reason he said that to you, right?
Yeah.
And but do you look at that as regret, or did you take that to heart? Like, what?
No, I took it to heart, and every time I do some fucked up shit, I'm like, God damn it, Mike would be pissed at me right now. He's probably looking at me, and he's like, dude, Andy, we talked about this.
Yeah.
You know, but I've learned to just live my life the way I want to live my life, and I'm going to try to be the best person I can. I'm going to help as many people as I can. I'm going to be a great dad, do my best as a husband, which I don't always do the best at.
Yeah, we're getting you home on time tonight.
None of us do.
Yeah, none of us do. And my wife's here. See, she's throwing a bottle out of the window. You know, she's flipping us all off. It's really weird. Why are you yelling at us?
But I do remember that. You know what I mean? I remember those words clearly.
Yeah.
Like sitting across from him, eating some shitty fucking Army eggs, and him telling me, Andy, you never know when you're gonna go, so you better be ready. You know what I mean? And I think to this day, I do my best to help as many people as I can, work for as many charities as I can, and just, you know what I mean? I'm still an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm doing the best I can, and I think it's because of what he told me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good. Good. What
Yeah.
about you, Donnie?
I don't know if it's regret more than, you know, I had somebody tell me, you know, it's one time, you know, combat's $1 million experience you wouldn't pay $1 for. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So, you know, it's more, I'm grateful for the experience. You know, we lost really, really great people that, you know, probably would still be doing great things and be with us. But it's not regret or survival's guilt or anything like that. It's more of trying to consciously live your life with a grateful heart.
Like honor them.
Yes, honor them and live your life with a grateful heart and be the best that you can, because, you know, at the end of the day, there no ifs, ands, or buts about it. None of us can dodge bullets. None of us can, you know, if we get blown up, you get blown up. And so you don't do anything different than anybody else. You just, by the grace of God, you get out of a situation like that. And you got to just recognize that. I had my great uncle Donald landed on the beaches in Normandy with the second ID. Lived to be like damn near 90 years old. And he had so much spunk and vigor, and he was always happy, you know, and you'd ask him, you know, and you'd ask me like, man, why are you so energetic? It's the sex, man. You know, he'd be like 90 years old. and he had this perspective like, I'm never going to have a bad day ever again if I get out of this shithole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you really
Yeah.
stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you get back on the horse, and you just try to do your best, and just be cognizant of the fact that we're living on borrowed time, all of us.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny.
I can tell you, I've been in so many fucked
tie
up,
another one.
shitty situations that nothing bothers me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think some people around me, like, sometimes they're like, man, you got to get fired up sometimes. And I don't get fired up.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can throw at me right now.
I've been fired at. I don't need to get fired up.
Right. You can't fire me up anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. I tell the guys that are all, you know, real aggressive, you know, the guys running around, always trying to fight and stuff. I'm like, look, you got to live like this, okay? Like, the second you start getting worked up about something, live by this motto, and just think in your head, you're not smart enough to fight me because you're not smart enough to make me mad.
That's good. That's good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Donnie's got several shirts he needs to have made.
Yeah.
Shit my dad says.
yeah. That's funny, man. That's good. Yeah, dude. It's interesting to pick y'all's brain on that aspect of that, and where y'all have come from. So, in two totally different worlds, right? Like two totally different worlds colliding at one moment, and then coming back together almost 16 years later is crazy. Now we're sitting here doing a podcast.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's awesome.
So the music industry. That's what you're in now.
Yes.
God help you, dude. God help you, man. Let me ask you this. Like, there's a reason. I mean, we were just talking about it now, and I really thought, and shame on me for thinking this, you know, that the music industry in Nashville would be very, very conservative, and you know, and it's got conservative people, right, and ideologies, but it seems like a lot of these labels are pushing individuals who are of that ideology away from that. Am I wrong?
Well, you know,
Because it just seems like a shit show, to be honest.
well,
the music
it's-
industry.
You know, it's. I don't know if it's a shit show more than. I mean, there are conservative, like you said, conservative people that have conservative values, and there are liberal people with liberal values, and I think that it just comes down to, kind of. I think it's kind of a bias, if you will. Maybe a lack of information. I think from a lot of people, and I think that the music industry in general is a very social environment, and I think that that all of these kind of these hot ticket items and things that are really popping up that are really getting people passionate and emotional that aren't really necessarily a lot of times based in fact. They're really just kind of based in folklore. Really kind of draw in those types of people, and entertainers and the music industry in general has always been kind of that cliquey, very
it's very cliquey.
I want to stand on the right side of history, you know, and a lot of people, you know, they're going for fame and notoriety and things like that. So they're going to align themselves with whatever the popular narrative is at the time. And so that's just kind of the nature of it.
It's like the perfect storm of
it just is what it is. You know what I mean? You can't hate them.
So what are you specifically doing within?
I can hate them. I like hate.
Yeah, but you love music.
But I love music too.
Well, that's the thing right there. Is at the end of the day, you know, having been around the world and fought, and having gone back several times to play for the troops, having come from a very blue collar family, from very humble beginnings, and to have the successes and the opportunities that I have, I'm very grateful for them. And for me, it really is about the music.
Yeah.
And so I can really just, you know, disengage from that.
Yeah.
In the music element. Now, if somebody starts pushing some bullshit on me,
right.
You know, I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. But
and what are you doing within the music industry now?
I produce records.
Oh, cool.
I obviously play the violin.
Do you play the banjo?
I do not play the banjo.
Damn it. It's like the one instrument I want to learn so bad, dude. It's the one instrument I want to learn bad, dude. So you run a recording studio?
Yes.
Hey, real quick.
Andy?
He kind of brushed that off, but this motherfucker played the freaking violin, the national anthem.
Oh, that's right.
At
you told
Trump's
me
inauguration.
Fuck yeah, America.
That's no bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, it was not the national anthem. We did. I was with the frontmen of country at the time, which were the lead singers of Little Texas, Restless Heart, and Lone Star. Dear friends of mine. Did several tours, MWR tours of the Department of the Navy, back over to play for the troops, Afghanistan, you know, Eastern Africa, Asia, etc. And we were asked to play the Make America Great ceremony in 2017, right? Is that when that would have been? Right, because he won in 16, and then in 2017 was the inauguration. Yep. We had we stood up on the Lincoln Memorial and we did our whole set, and then Lee Greenwood walked out and we all sang "God Bless the USA." On the Lincoln Memorial in front of the world, and then
boner time.
that was a very
like when you're sitting there playing, when you're sitting there playing, are you just like, oh my god?
Yeah. Oh yeah, heck yeah, man! Especially when you get those like pinch me gigs. You know, I remember being on the road with the frontman, and you know, and I mean, I grew up look when I was going to high school, graduated high school in 1999. When I was driving to school, you know. Little Texas, you know, God Bless Texas, What Might Have Been. Those things were on the radio. Yeah. You know, like the last song that we danced to, the last slow song at my senior prom was Amazed by Lone Star. And I'm on stage playing
I haven't
that
Lone Star in forever.
Yeah, and I'm on stage playing Amazed with Richie McDonald, just thinking, oh my, are you kidding me?
That's awesome.
Like, who gets to do this?
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
He'll call me every once in a while. He's like, hey, you wanna go check out this freaking show that I'm doing? And I show up there and it's some fucking crazy huge star, and I'm like, oh my god, are you serious, dude?
Well, let me ask you this: so if you could play with one band right now or one celebrity musician, who would it be that you haven't played with?
That I haven't played with.
And they could be dead or alive. We'll do this. They could be dead or alive.
One
band, musician, singer.
That is really hard to say.
Milli Vanilli.
Band, believe it or not, one band that I would love to play with, especially the violin, would be Aerosmith. Grew up listening to Aerosmith.
Oh yeah.
And solo artists would be, I'd say probably Bruce Hornsby.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Aerosmith. I would have never mentioned Aerosmith. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I love Aerosmith,
Yeah.
man.
No, I mean they're a good band. I would have figured you would have picked something within the country realm. Do you specifically just do country, or no, not even?
No, all different types. I mean, when I first got out of the military and I got back into music, the first band that I was in was a black gospel band.
That's awesome.
We traveled all over the place. We ended up with 2 number ones on 3 number one records.
I bet you fit in really well.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because you're black.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been fun, man.
It was totally fun. I learned a lot about what I didn't know about music.
Yeah. I
You know?
remember going to a black gospel church in college and like thinking, because I had grown up in music and stuff and in different churches. And then I sat back and I was like, oh my gosh, they are good at what they do. And
Yes.
this is insane.
This is insane.
like
I remember
You feel it. You feel
Yeah.
it.
Feel it. Yeah. I just remember the first time, like, oh my God, I don't know anything about music. And I'd already, learned the Tchaikovsky violin concerto. I was just, thought I was just, bee's knees when it came to me. I get in, I'm like, I know nothing. I know nothing.
I know G chord.
I know nothing.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's awesome, dude. That in such a random. Why the violin? Let me ask you that.
I just wanted to play it. I was really drawn to it. When I was in the 4th grade, they brought the string orchestra into the auditorium or the gymnasium at the time, and they drew us all there. And they would do like a sample. They would play, and they'd say, "Hey, if you want to do this, go talk to this person and talk to this person." It's like a job fair for music, And I just remember being really drawn to it. And I went to my dad the first time in 4th grade and asked if I could play the violin, and my dad was, of course, like, hell no. For one, I'm not paying for that.
That's gay.
Yeah. He's like, you're never
playing that. You were not going to
He's
play
like,
that.
well, no, but I think more along the lines of he just did not think that I had the discipline whatsoever, and that I was just bullshitting, and that I was never going to
You
play it.
hear
And-
somebody bust some shit out on the violin, you're like, oh my God, that dude's getting more,
Yeah.
Dude,
Dude, when somebody can play it, they
anybody,
can
dude.
play it, bro. Like when they can play it, they can play it.
That's funny. So he would and so that obviously it was like, okay, fine, I'll just play baseball and stuff, and then the next year they came back again, 5th grade year, and I was like, Dad, I really want to play the violin. And then at that point it kind of dawned on him, okay, he must really want to play this instrument.
Yeah.
And so
See, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I want to play the triangle.
I want to play the cowbell.
More cowbell.
On Don't Fear the Reaper exclusively.
cowbell.
Exactly.
Yeah. And back then you got to realize too, we were, we're a single working family. My dad worked, my mom stayed at home with the kids. We had 2 brothers. We lived in a little ranch house. My dad was a service technician. So wasn't raking in, a ton of money, and renting a violin for $25 or $30 a month, that was a decent amount of cash.
Yeah.
And so he just asked me that I give him my word that I would learn it. That's all he asked. Man, when I got that fucking thing, I took it to the bathroom with me for the next 10 years.
I bet your parents loved that first year.
I was like, as soon as they showed me, I remember opening up the case and be like, it was intoxicating the way it smelled and the rosin and the wood, and I was like, oh, and then and I didn't put it down.
That's awesome.
I never have. I've tried to put it down a couple times, but I was coming.
Did you ever take it on any deployments?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's come up here a couple times and played. Like Darryl Worley came up to do our Memorial Day, and he played the national anthem. There wasn't a dry eye in this freaking building.
Awesome.
It is awesome, man. Like he plays it down. He's got some freaking fiddle skills that are ridiculous, dude.
And what's your wife do?
My wife actually.
She's just good looking.
Well, my wife's an anomaly. So right now, my wife is doing 3 days a week in the ER as a nurse, because she was a nurse originally when we got married, and so when COVID started, she went back into that to help, because it's so hard for them to keep staff, and it's not anybody's fault,
Right.
Just nursing staff in general are just underpaid, and then with all the nonsense going on with the media and all that, you just have people flocking to the and they don't, people are quitting. They're like, screw this, So she's been helping with that, but more than that, full time she works in the music industry. She helps me with my publishing admin. She manages schedules. She helps manage artists. She's a very, very, very organized and wonderful businesswoman. And prior to that, for 7 years, she had the #1 cupcake shop in the state of Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she did that, and then when she didn't want to do it, my wife gets the 7-year itch, is what I call it. It's like 7 years. Yeah. I don't want to do this anymore.
I want to be a nurse.
Well, what do you want to do? How about a cupcake shop? All right, so I built her a cupcake shop. No idea what's going to happen. Turns out to be a great success. And she's 7 years later, I don't want to do this anymore. All right. Yeah. So here we go.
So are you on a label, or like, do you have your own label, or is it just a recording studio?
No,
You're
well,
just
I work
contracting
with, so I have my company, 123 South Recording LLC, and we also have 123 Streams in there. So we have cameras and all that stuff too, so we can do stuff like this podcast. You should come in and do one sometime.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
And we could do live streams, we can do B-roll content, anything necessary. But no, we do. I'm primarily a record producer, so artists come to me so that I can work on the songs, arrange them, find the best players, and get them to sound sonically and musically the best that they possibly can, so that their music can be presented in a way that they're very proud of it,
awesome.
And so that they can have successes moving forward. I'm in the process right now of starting the first real veteran-owned development record label.
Awesome.
So I do work. I work. So in the music industry, this is not a bad thing. But there's a lot of charities and a lot of artists in general, and kind of the music industry in general uses. They don't use veterans, but veterans are seen as, for a long time they've been seen as guys that need to be given charity or paraded around, and it's like a cause for applause, if you will. Yeah. As opposed to I try to get them, like the Tyler Jays and the Scooter Browns and things like that, and go, okay.
Well, real quick. So you're gonna throw that. Let's talk about them, right?
Yeah.
Like Scooter Brown, Tyler Jay. These guys are, both of them are Marines.
Yep, Marines. Yep.
Right. Like
Tyler wrote the EAS song, which is, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
These guys are awesome musicians, but they're not. They've been a Marine for so many years, right? So they haven't been given that fucking opportunity that they need, right? And I want, I don't know how to talk about them. Like you can talk about them, but like they deserve, because their music is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
You listen to it and like you feel it. You know what I'm saying? When they play a song, you feel it. It's awesome.
And that's the thing, recognizing that that hey, it's thank you for saying thank you for my service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But don't mention it. It's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, don't let that be my focus.
No,
I want my music to be my focus.
These guys
Right.
want to have a career.
Yeah.
And that takes time and focus. And they're veterans too, so they have different personalities. A lot of times they're alpha personalities. So, they're Marines first.
Right.
But they're also artists, and they're wonderful artists, and they just want a chance to really stand on the big stage and do it. And so, but they don't know anything about the intricate workings of Scott knows a lot more about it, because Scott's been in doing it for a long time. But when they come and I'm like, that's an awesome song. Okay, but what we've got to do? We've got to put a team together. We've got to record all these songs, start putting videos together. This is going to take 2 to 5 years,
Right.
of really hard work. And
It's like they have the goal, but they need to build the brand, and the brand doesn't need to be surrounded and solely on their veteran aspect.
No.
yes,
It can be an attribute, but not solely what I'm about.
exactly. Yeah, that's not what they want to talk about.
They're good musicians.
Right. Yeah.
They're great musicians.
So how many musicians do you feel are overlooked just because of that?
I mean, it's
they overlook themselves because of that.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard saying. I mean, probably more than we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're trying to start a label that would cater more towards this I don't want to say idea, but the concept of getting out of that and creating a brand for them rather than
Yeah, like the whole, but a veteran owned a label that's owned by a veteran, and I have most of my artists aren't veterans,
Right.
And so that's the cool thing about it too. That's what really legitimizes it amongst the music industry. It's like, hey, this isn't just another veteran trying to do veteran stuff for only veterans. You know what I mean?
It
It's
doesn't
like,
look as if it's a charity.
I'm trying to invite them into the into a community so they can be respected amongst their peers. That's what they want.
Right.
What's the band that's been down at your place the last couple times?
The Flying Buffaloes.
The Flying Buffaloes.
Flying Buffaloes. They're just a young rock and roll, but it's the farthest thing from veterans ever.
Yeah, but they're awesome, man. Like, I'm lucky. I get to come sit down, come hang out with them. I'll bring some bottles of booze, and we'll sit there and drink while they're recording shit. And I'm sitting there like, dude, I would listen to this. If this thing was on the fucking radio, I would listen to this all day long. It's just a kick-ass song.
It's crazy,
what I
man,
mean?
because like growing up in a recording studio and around bands, and like one of our good friends, you know, I grew up going to Jack's Patio Bar, growing up around Nothing More, and now they're huge. You know, traveling with Seether and traveling with a bunch of different bands and stuff.
Fantastic.
And I remember sitting in the recording studio with a bunch of different bands and stuff that grew up with them, and we're just constantly recording late night. You know how it is. And I'm looking at some of these guys and going and looking at the talent, and I'm like, man, there's so much talent.
Yes.
There's so much talent. I just don't think people know how to take that talent and brand that.
And that's the thing. That's what, you know, I have the business people, the marketing. We have, because I've been in the business for a long time, so we have inside of my camp of people that I work with, we have very successful acts and multiple different genres. So, you know, we have all the tools in place to do this, but it's what I have, and I know this from experience. There's nothing like, you know, veterans want to get back, and they want to get back to work, and they want to pull up their bootstraps, and they want to get back on the horse,
American.
and they want to go back to it, and they don't want to be treated like a charity case, and that's really not. And so they know I'm one of the best violinists in the world, and that sounds terrible to say about myself.
No, but you are.
But I mean,
Yeah.
They know that my pedigree as a musician has stood the test of time, and I've worked with some of the best and biggest in the business and traveled the world. So my pedigree is there. So they want to stand on that stage with people like me and with other great artists, and they want to be seen in that light.
did you have to overcome fighting that mold of being a veteran within the music industry?
I just didn't mention it.
Cool. Yeah.
You know?
I figured that was going to kind of be your answer. I just wondered, like, how many people go, like, don't even mention it, like, don't even talk about it, don't even bring it up.
Don't even bring it up. Let my music do the talking.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I played a mean triangle, bro. I mean, you know, I think you need to have me in the studio. I'm going to come down there and I'm going to ding the fuck out of that thing. So I know Andy's got to go, and so we're kind of pressed for time. And Donnie, I'd really like to come check your place out.
Yeah, man, come on down. We'll do another one.
Yeah, dude.
I'll let you interview some of the guys that some of my veteran artists.
Yeah, dude, that would be fucking awesome.
They've got amazing stories. Scooter Brown was Chris Kyle's best friend.
Awesome. Yeah, so we know Chris Kyle from down in Dallas. His wife lives down at Tanya or whatever. Tanya. Taya lives down in Midlothian. So. Some close friends that are good friends. Yeah, man, that would be phenomenal.
And Tyler's a hoot. You'll love him. Tyler wrote the EAS song. You'll have to look it up. I'll send it to you. It's
both of these guys they're fucking phenomenal.
That's awesome.
You listen, and you don't even have to be a veteran, but you hear the songs they sing, and it hits you. You know what I mean?
Like, that's real good music.
It's real deep.
Yeah.
It's deep music. It's not just
What we should do is set up and fucking jam.
Yeah, man.
Bro, old school jam session like in a garage, dude.
We'll bring a triangle.
Turn it back to my root. No, bro, we'll bring that drum
bring a
set out.
triangle
We'll bring
for
that
you.
drum set out. I'll beat the shit out of
bring
some
the triangle.
drums, man.
I love it.
So real quick before we close up the show, I want to talk about, and I wish we could spend a lot more time, and I want to connect with them. So when we're done, I'd like to connect.
Sure.
But the nonprofit that you were telling me about.
So, Special Operators Transition Foundation. It's a great organization. What they do is they take guys like me when they're retiring, special operators, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, MARSOC guys.
Night Stalkers, everybody.
Yeah.
Aviators, Special Forces.
Aviators. When they're getting ready to retire, they pair them up with companies, and they put them in this company and they spend a year or whatever with them, and then so they get that actual experience, that business experience, and then 9 times out of 10 that company hires them.
Yeah,
because they see what they can do and they're like, oh geez, we want that dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to say
it's huge.
I want to say, and I won't say the company, but the gun company has one working for them right now, working on some sniper stuff. And he's assigned to them through some organization, and he's kind of like shadowing them and learning the way, and like they're teaching them the way, and then he's due to be hired afterwards.
Yeah, that's what they do, and it's awesome, man.
It's an amazing. It's awesome. It's the you know, they take, you know, each operator gets or you know, each person gets a an executive coach. Basically, they get a certain amount of money allocated to them through the program. An executive coach, like Andy was saying, and then they get the skills, and they get a chance to transition properly out, and they get put into a position that is best suited for what they're good at. And they're all creative problem solvers and motivated people, so they make great assets to all these companies.
Yeah,
and it works.
You know, with that, real quick. So this is the biggest problem with our special operators, right? We've been trained to do the craziest shit you can ever think about doing for freaking 26 years, right? And at the end of that 26 years, you step out of that position, and that's where guys have a problem, right? Because you've been the shit for 26 years. Like, at the end of your 26, you're the man. Like, everybody looks up to you. Like, you're running, like, the missions I've been talking to you about. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting at home, and these guys are like, oh, I got a good retirement, and it's good. The Army retirement's great. But they're sitting at home, they're sitting on the couch, and they're like, dude, who the fuck am I now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These organizations like SODIF, Charlie Daniels'
Journey Home
project.
It helps them find their why.
Yeah, these guys have to have a why when they get out of that position.
They need to re-engage,
and they got to move on with life. Because you can live. You have you bring income. You're fine at home, but inside your head, you're not okay. Yeah. You've got to have something to keep that brain focus moving. You know what I mean? And that's what the SODIF does. It's pretty awesome. Yeah,
awesome. And so that's how y'all were put together?
Yeah,
well, that's how we met.
Okay.
Well, that's how we got reconnected.
Right. Yeah.
At the SODIF organization. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. We've got a little task force here in Nashville that really we put on a premier event for Nashville. We do it every year over at Old Hickory Country Club. We just basically go out and find companies and donors and people, and we put a celebrity golf event together. And they come out, and these men and women get to come and hang and play golf with celebrities and donors and meet people, and we just have a big old time. We put a big rock and roll all-star band together, and
they
let
drink
famous
a
people go sing.
shitload of Leatherwood Distillery.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Booze,
a ton.
And it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, dude. So where can people find you, man? How can they find out about your company? Instagram, social media?
Yeah, you can.
The Twitter, whatever it is.
The Twitter. I'm at Donnie Reis Music. DonnieReis Music. That's my Instagram. I have websites and stuff like that. Obviously, the studio name is 123 South, and that's TWELVE, the number 3 South. You can check that out. That's on Instagram as well. But if you find me, all of my places will lead to the company. Yeah.
All roads leave home. So let me ask you this in closing, and I'm going to ask the question, but in closing, I want to know if you could learn one instrument that you don't know right now, what would it be?
The steel guitar.
Yeah.
The lap steel. Because I love it. I put it on so many things, and I'm just fascinated by it, and I have no idea how to do it.
It is a very fascinating.
And it's a wonderful. If it's done badass, right, man, it just comes in and it weeps in and just pulls your soul.
And it goes. Oh, that's not that one. That's not the one we're talking about.
The banjo.
Definitely
Sorry.
not it.
Not a musical guy.
All right, so everybody gets asked a question on the show. In a world of commonality, a world of just commonness and common individuals, what does it mean to you to be uncommon?
What does it mean to be uncommon? I think it to me it brings a sense of pride. to not follow the pack and just go along with the nonsense, but to have the balls to stand up for what you believe in and go for what you want to do, be entrepreneurial. That is what Uncommon means to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Donnie, cheers
Love
to
it.
you.
Yeah.
Cheers to your
Cheers to you,
company,
brother.
business. And
Cheers,
Absolutely.
boys.
Endeavors. Cheers, man. Andy, thank you so much for having us again.
Yep.
All right, guys. Make sure you
Appreciate
check them out. Make sure you check out Leatherwood. Thank you so much for having us in Nashville, man. This has been a blast, dude. A marathon. This is my first time doing 3 shows in one day, so
Yeah.
It was
Content stacking.
yeah, content
That's
stacking.
it, baby.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. So I got 3 months of content, so that's great. So remember, guys, stay safe, stay switched on, and stay uncommon.
All lives we chase is but